You got to go back because I've never done this before either.
Okay, starting the podcast so that everybody can hear it. Yep. Let me turn this on real quick. Okay. I've got two passages that I'm going to read from and talk about today. The first is Luke 10:25 to 37, the most important commandment. One day, an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus by asking him this question: "Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus replied, "What does the law of Moses say? How do you read it?" The man answered, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "Right," Jesus told him. "Do this and you will live." The man wanted to justify his actions, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him for dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed on by the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to the inn, where he took care of him. The next day he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, "Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here." Now, which of these would you say is the neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, "The one who showed him mercy." Then Jesus said, "Yes, now go and do the same." And the second is from Matthew 25:31 to 46, the final judgment. "But when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit upon the glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He'll place the sheep at the right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me.' Then these righteous ones will reply, 'Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show your hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will say, 'I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me.' Then the king will turn to those on the left and say, 'Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. For I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me.' Then they will reply, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and not help you?' And he will answer, 'I tell you the truth. When you refuse to help the least of my brothers and sisters, you are refusing to help me.' And they will go away into eternal punishment, and the righteous will go into eternal life." My message is about that love that God gives us and asks us to share with our neighbors. The least of these, the sick, those in prison, homeless. These are the people that I'm called to help. That's what my ministry would be, is a ministry to help those, the least of these. And I believe I can do that. I believe we all can. Because God gives us that love, that grace that He's given us already, the gift of life. All we have to do is share it. Have compassion. Care for people. Care about people. Sometimes just a kind word will make somebody's day. I was reading a story online of a young man that he was crossing the bridge, and sitting on the rail there was a man. And he looked at him and he walked over and he said, "Are you okay?" They had a conversation. They started talking. And as the story goes, that man was going to jump off the bridge. The only thing that stopped him was somebody asking him, "Are you okay?" If I can ask somebody if they're okay and listen to what they tell me and help them, have that compassion. Like the day that I was at the quick shop. That young man was outside, just kept looking at his phone at the time, asked him if he needed a ride, and he didn't need a ride. And it just occurred to me to ask him that question: have you eaten today? And I went in and I bought him dinner. If there were a restaurant closer by, I would have done that because I would have preferred to eat better food too, but that's all you have to do is care and love people. And if we could do that, this would be a much better world. If everybody would just love their neighbor like themselves. That's kind of hard for me sometimes, because sometimes in my past, I didn't love me so much. So it was hard for me to love my neighbors. But if you can give somebody that kind word, maybe that's all they need. Maybe that's all they need. That's my message. Short and sweet.
Well, it makes me think of a song. I don't think it's in a big book,